In one of the earliest lectures, I emphasized that there is freedom from constraints, and then there is a deeper freedom within constraints. Both are important. We need to first free ourselves from that which controls us against our wills, including freeing ourselves from controlling dogmatic systems of thought control that bind us in untruths or systems of intolerance. But then we also need to attain a deeper freedom by committing to a path that deepens our minds and affords us the deeper freedoms associated with mastering that path or practice. In this segment, I would like to focus on freeing our minds from dogmatic systems of control into which we may have been born. In particular, I'll focus here on the case of freeing our minds from dogmatic religious control, but the lessons really apply more generally to any system of thought control, including the many insidious thought control systems of the non-religious sort, such as propaganda and inculcation into various ideologies. But let's focus here on the dogmatic thinking among some religious people. Many such people reject the assumptions of the scientific worldview. The forces of outright rejection include fundamentalists as well as those who, although they reject their parents' faith as medieval, embrace another system of beliefs to live by. With its faith in astrological, otherworldly, and psychic forces, the New Age is a varied attempt of the latter sort to counter science's physicalist worldview. Some movements within the New Age are more a throwback to animism than a serious challenge to the preeminence of the scientific worldview in our culture. Other movements within the New Age, with their reverence for nature and interest in meditation and mysticism, demonstrate a yearning for a coherent worldview beyond that which science can offer. Unlike New Age movements, fundamentalist ones pose a genuine threat to science, in my opinion. Creationists have lost recent legal battles to scientists, but they may yet win the war. Scriptural literalists cannot tolerate worldviews that see their scripture as non-divine, culturally specific creations. How extreme will fundamentalists get in this war of cultures? It's hard to know, but those of us who believe that the objective truth can be discovered with science and reason have to fight the good fight and take on those who maintain that truth can only be known via faith and revelation. While ideological, political, and economic forces are powerful determinants of human conflict, the deepest roots of conflict are emotions like hate and fear. Because they respect others' ways and perspectives, people with cultures of tolerance are not likely to start or take part in violent conflict. They don't hate or fear others for their differences. Those with cultures of intolerance, however, are more likely to resort to violence and mind control because they lack such respect. The danger to science comes not from religion per se, but from cultures of intolerance. Science can only thrive within a culture of openness, free speech, tolerance, and reason. Fundamentalists everywhere may proclaim their love of science, but what they really want is technology for the power that it gives. All they want to eliminate, they say, is secularism in politics and education. But what fundamentalists really want to eliminate is personal secularism and free thought. What they do not understand is that a culture of science, premised as it is upon open-minded doubt, cannot thrive in a culture where open-minded doubt is considered heretical. If fundamentalists ever take control, we may see science as a search for ever more accurate models of reality, reduced to science as a quest for more powerful technology. Since scientists and other intellectuals are generally among the most secular people in the population, moral fundamentalists will have to re-educate or silence them. The threat of systematized intolerance comes not only from scriptural fundamentalists, but also from other moral fundamentalists who want to reconstruct culture for ideological reasons. China during the Cultural Revolution, or Cambodia under Pol Pot, or Germany under Hitler, each suffered book burnings and violence against those with morally incorrect thinking. Dictators know that while ideas cannot be killed, the people who hold ideas can be killed. Will America ever be taken over by religious or other moral fundamentalists? The possibility seems remote now, but remember that even Hitler was voted in democratically, that McCarthy purged intellectuals here in the 1950s, and that Reagan and Bush had an agenda influenced strongly by the moral majority. Keep in mind also that according to numerous polls, a majority of Americans claim to believe in the reality of angels. But the desire to control people's thoughts is not limited to dogmatists on the right. The left has its fair share of people who want to limit free speech and who want to police people's thoughts and opinions. Any advocate of human freedom, in particular anyone who embraces the notion of a libertarian free will want to fight dogmatism and thought policing, whether it comes from the far right or the far left. But some systems of thought control are neither religious nor Orwellian. They arise from assumptions held so widely that hardly anyone questions them. One example of this is the modern faith in technology, namely that there's a technological or science-based solution to most of our problems. For example, viewing all mental events, from memories to personalities, as the information processing abilities and traits of nervous systems is a powerful paradigm. Millions suffering from mental and behavioral disorders will continue to benefit as drug therapies are refined and new drugs are discovered. Surgical techniques to alleviate certain kinds of mental suffering, such as obsessive-compulsive disorders, will also improve countless lives. However, the potential for technological hubris is also very great. Synthetic drugs, far more addictive than heroin, have recently appeared. The potential for coercive powers to alter the minds of citizens with drugs and corrective surgery will grow with brain-altering technology. Gulags of mind control, more Orwellian than those described by Solzhenitsyn, may occur where governments can act with impunity. This will particularly be true once we crack the neural code, which, I suspect, will be as momentous for our civilization as the cracking of the genetic code has been these past several decades. Perhaps the greatest danger of this faith in technology will be a kind of moral or spiritual rot, where people come to view mental suffering as unnecessary because it's unpleasant. Would a pill that dispels grief or guilt benefit humankind? Would a pill that makes one feel in love really be desirable? We may enter a world where the people who can afford treatments feel cheerful and whole, even in the midst of increasingly Malthusian decay, environmental degradation, and societal decline. Why change the way one acts if one feels great? Although people can and do act based on personal ideals, standards, and beliefs, guilt and dread are two of the most ancient and powerful motivators of human action. Pain and mental anguish serve a purpose: to motivate us to find a way out of our present state of misery. While excessive or unfounded anxiety is unnecessarily debilitating, eliminating mental suffering entirely would come at a deep cost to our humanity. Will the quest for wisdom be replaced by an addictive pursuit of pleasure and likes? Will beauty, pleasure, prestige, health, and money become the only things we use our free will to pursue in life? America is already lurching in this direction. Imagine if we start implanting electrodes into our cerebral pleasure centers as readily as we implant silicone into our bodies. Cosmetic surgery may someday encompass brain alterations to make us more like the person who we really are. What will happen to us as our tools for fulfilling escapist fantasies become more powerful and accessible? It is not enough to point out the flawed thinking of our intellectual foes or the flaws in systems of control that attempt to bind us in some preferred way of seeing things. Scientists and those who believe that truth can be reached through reason and science have to offer a framework that offers meaning to life that fills the vacuum of meaning inadvertently created by science. What might that look like? What might the future bring in terms of moral or spiritual frameworks that are compatible with a scientific worldview? In the next section, I'll offer some possible directions for guiding moral and spiritual frameworks that are compatible with science and not antithetical to it.